Hello, and welcome back to List Of, the channel dedicated to unraveling the weird, the wonderful, and the downright inexplicable. Today, we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of unsolved mysteries, the kind that make you question everything you thought you knew, and perhaps, occasionally, whether aliens are just incredibly good at hide and seek. We're talking about cases where the facts are stranger than fiction, where logic takes a holiday, and where the only answer seems to be, well, we have absolutely no idea. So, dim the lights, check under your bed, and prepare to have your mind thoroughly boggled as we present some of the most bizarre unsolved mysteries from around the world. First up, we travel to the frigid, unforgiving Ural Mountains of Russia, where in February 1959, 9 experienced hikers embarked on a journey that would become known as the Dyatlov Pass Incident. What started as a routine expedition quickly spiraled into one of history's most chilling enigmas. The group, led by Igor Dyatlov, never returned. When search parties finally located their camp, the scene was baffling. Their tent was cut open from the inside, suggesting a desperate, immediate escape. Footprints indicated several members had fled barefoot into the deep snow, in temperatures well below freezing. Their bodies were later found scattered, some miles away. Initial reports stated hypothermia as the cause of death, but the devil, as always, was in the details. One victim had a fractured skull, 2 had crushed chests, and 1 woman was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her jaw. And here's the kicker. Their clothes, in some cases, exhibited unusually high levels of radiation. Theories range from an avalanche, which struggles to explain the tent cutting and varied injuries, to military testing, infrasound-induced panic, or even the dreaded Yeti. 65 years later, we still haven't landed on a definitive answer. It's almost as if someone, or something, wanted to make sure this story remained an eternal campfire tale, just without the actual campfire. Next, we sail across the Atlantic to the year 1872, and the iconic ghost ship of the high seas, the Mary Celeste. This merchant brigantine departed New York for Genoa, Italy, with 7 crew members, Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter. A perfectly normal voyage until about a month later, when she was discovered adrift in the Atlantic, completely devoid of human life. The ship itself was largely intact, still under partial sail, and perfectly seaworthy. Her cargo of industrial alcohol was undisturbed. The crew's belongings, including valuables, were still on board. The captain's log was up to date, save for a final entry 10 days before her discovery. The only things notably missing were the lifeboat, the captain's navigation instruments, and, of course, everyone who had been on board. There was no sign of struggle, no distress, no blood, no pirates. It was as if everyone had simply stepped off. Theories range from a sudden storm forcing an evacuation, which is hard to reconcile with the ship's condition, to a mutiny, sea monster attacks, or even an explosion caused by the alcohol fumes, which somehow left the ship pristine. Imagine having a perfectly good ship, a perfectly good cargo, and deciding, nope, we're out. It's the ultimate leaving on a high note scenario, though perhaps a bit too high for comfort. Our third stop takes us back in time to the late 16th century and the enduring mystery of the Roanoke Colony. In 1587, a group of English settlers, led by Governor John White, established a colony on Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. White soon headed back to England for supplies, leaving behind his wife, daughter, and newborn granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. He expected to return quickly, but the Anglo-Spanish War delayed him for 3 long years. When he finally made it back in 1590, he found the settlement deserted. There was no sign of the 112 colonists. The only clues were the word Croatoan carved into a fence post and QRO carved into a tree. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island and a local Native American tribe. White had previously instructed his colonists that if they moved, they should carve a Maltese cross into a tree indicating distress. No cross was found, so did they integrate with the Croatoan tribe? Were they massacred? Did they try to sail away and perish at sea? Or did they simply vanish into thin air, leaving behind only an ancestral game of charades? With only 2 words as clues, it's a mystery that's launched 1,000 historical fan theories, none of which quite stick the landing. Now, let's head to South Australia, December 1948, for a case often hailed as the world's most perfect mystery, the Taman Shud Case, or the mystery of the Somerton Man. On the first day of summer, a man was found dead on Somerton Beach. He was elegantly dressed in a suit, lying with his head against a seawall. There were no obvious injuries, no signs of struggle, and despite an exhaustive search, no identification. All his clothing tags had been removed. The only clue was a tiny scrap of paper found in a hidden pocket of his trousers, bearing the printed words Taman Shud. This phrase, meaning finished or ended, was torn from the final page of a rare collection of Persian poems, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Further investigation uncovered the book itself in an unlocked car nearby, which contained a cryptic, handwritten code and a phone number. Despite decades of efforts, including DNA analysis in the 21st century, his identity remains officially unknown, his cause of death undetermined, and the meaning of the code unbroken. Was he a spy? A jilted lover? A poet with an extremely dramatic exit strategy? The police even broadcast his description internationally, hoping someone would recognize the deceased gentleman who, quite literally, came from nowhere and went nowhere. He didn't just disappear, he seemed to have materialized just to be found mysteriously dead. Talk about making an entrance and an exit. Finally, we turn our gaze skyward to October 1978 and the baffling disappearance of Australian pilot Frederick Valentich. The 20-year-old pilot was on a routine training flight over Bass Strait, Australia, when he reported an unidentified aircraft shadowing him. His final chilling transmission described the object as hovering and it's not an aircraft, followed by a series of metallic scraping noises, and then silence. Valentich and his plane, a Cessna 182L, vanished without a trace. No wreckage was ever found, despite extensive searches. Air traffic control logs confirmed his final panicked communication. What did he see? Was it a UFO, as many speculate, perhaps one that didn't appreciate being observed? Was it a disoriented light aircraft, a hallucination brought on by hypoxia, or some extremely rare weather phenomenon? The official explanation suggested he was disoriented and crashed, but that doesn't quite account for his final frantic reports of an object playing games with him. It's a classic case of a seemingly rational person encountering something utterly irrational and then simply ceasing to exist. If there was an aerial prankster involved, they certainly took it to an extreme and, frankly, a bit rude conclusion. And there you have it, a small selection from the vast, bewildering catalog of the world's bizarre unsolved mysteries. From ghost ships to disappearing colonists from frozen mountains to a man whose identity was ripped from a book, these cases remind us that sometimes the truth isn't just out there, it's also incredibly perplexing, occasionally irradiated, and possibly hiding in plain sight. They challenge our assumptions, fuel our imaginations, and keep us asking that most human of questions. What in the world just happened? One thing's for sure, the universe isn't done surprising us yet. What's your favorite bizarre mystery? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to List Of for more mind-bending content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious and maybe double-check those tent zippers.